How we doing, everybody? All right, good to see you guys. I figured I'd hit you up starting off with just got done meeting with the defense and kind of give you some thoughts behind that meeting and where we're at. So first thing I hit them on was, hey, this was not the result that we wanted, and make sure that's good. And I told them at times it felt like we were an on the way up crew, and at times that meant being us, and an offense that was an already there crew. And how quickly, can we level up to do that? I reminded them that last year's Tampa didn't start off as an already there offense. And, they continued to grow and they hit their stride, during the season and certainly at the end of the season. And that's really what it's about, of how much better you can get and the improvement you can make. So I reminded them of that because I thought they capitalized on some mistakes, and that's what I would say an already there offense. They had 20 games together, and so I thought that was a good message for the guys. No moral victories, and so to me it was how quickly we level up to things that we wanted to improve on, and that's the fun part about today. We get rolling right on that again. So with that, glad to open up to you guys. I just wanted to share a few of my thoughts with the players, and I kind of hit on some of the things that I liked. I hit on some of the things I thought we still need to work on, and then we kind of went down through the meeting.
Would you make any position changes or lineup changes at all? I know during the game you guys flopped Brown and Diggs.
There'll be some that we do that, and sometimes it's a matchup one to go on. If you're playing a certain coverage or a certain thing to go, that is a fine. So I don't know what the union comes across. Is there like a professional sports writers association? So if they are, I don't know what it is. The fine is, but I hope it's not as high as the one we have for the players, but it should be commensurate with salary. But the thing I'd like to get across is you're talking about, like, sometimes there's matchup ones to go, and while we're on that topic, there'll also be times when certain packages will be more featured in some games versus others. That's certainly the case at different positions. We knew in this game we'd have to rotate a lot of the defensive line, and we did that. There'll be other games, certainly with linebackers, the reps will change. There'll be some that, some play more, some play way more. And so it kind of just depends on the game and the flow. And so, but no lineup changes. We've got a crew that we're just working, like crazy to keep getting better and working, but I'm pleased with the progress that the group's making.
Talk about replacing Brown with Wright.
No, and I think it's fair to say I thought Anthony did an excellent job tackling, and the one deep ball that went for a touchdown was actually a coverage that we were playing a trail technique, which you guys would know. That means he's playing underneath with help over the top. Another player fell down. The safety tried to help that one instead of Anthony, so it looked like he was in a bad spot, but he was actually doing the technique that he should, knowing that he should have had help. So one problem caused another problem, so that could make it feel funny, but now at least you know the answer on that play.
So what's the safety supposed to do in that spot? Don't cover for the guy that trips?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because if you don't, for the guy that trips, you'd throw it to that one. So I would say that the message of the story is don't trip. That would be a good start. But honestly, that's ball and that happens. But I did want to clear that up about Anthony, because that could, if you didn't know, I'm glad that you guys brought that up.
What did you think of Michael Parsons' first NFL game?
I thought going through it, there was he's an excellent competitor. So I knew, this is, kind of what he's built for. And I would say as you go through, communication from his end, I thought was strong. Preparation, I just went through a process with him. What did you like about the process? What do you still need to work on as we're going through, getting into his next game week? And so we had a good discussion about the calls, the situations, the things that come up, and it was really good. You had a 50-50 ball against Fournette and said, what'd you learn? And so those are kind of the questions that you like to find out. I got to go attack it. And so, like, there's these moments that happen for a player, that's growing, and Micah, we're going to develop them. And so you have to have some of those pains to go through, which you don't like, but it's part of the developmental process. And so I think he's just going to continue to make strides as we go.
How much time do you spend with him leading up to games as you go through what the calls are, what the packages are, what you're looking for here?
Yeah, he and I, we get some one-on-one time almost every day where we get some chance to go. We just did that in this game, and usually that's on the blitzes or the pass rush to go. And George, will go through with all the linebackers, but I only take out those specific ones that I hit with him on. It's more on the pass rush and the blitzing and that side of the game.
Could you speak to how Kurtz was used this past week? He was down a lot, but then ended a couple of series where it looked like he was in for Wilson and
Yep.
back. I didn't know if that was part of a rotation or if Donovan, an issue with the groin or
Nope, you're exactly on it. Sometimes when we play a package, he could be in as a nickel, but we call that a big nickel, where he could match up on the tight ends instead of a third wide receiver. Sometimes an offense will feature a second tight end, and when you're playing some coverages, you want a bigger, longer guy to match the tight ends. And you're right also that he did work in some with Donovan, yeah, and it was just more a byproduct of him being limited previously. So as Dono's working him back into, going from very few reps to 60, all at once. And that'll probably change as we're moving forward, but it was the right call in this game.
That 50-50 ball, was that the one near the sideline there?
Yes, you got it, yep. And so those were ones that, you watch, and as a player, you're just furious. You're pissed at yourself because we put all the ones on, tape today of the good, the bad, and the ones that you want to grow from and learn. But, that's part of, owning the truth on a day like today. You got to live it, you got to tell it, you got to understand it, and then you got to move on and learn from it. And so for all the players, not just him, there's always examples like that on a Monday you're like, oh man, I don't want that play to show up. And it has to, because that's still part of the process to say, man, this is, kind of builds the accountability all together. And he is an excellent competitor. So it was one of those really good teachable moments to say, there's never a chance to relax. They're always throwing it to your player. Like the guy was in the flat, he got moved around in the pocket, and then he throws it out there, and that is the quintessential play for him moving forward, because he is an excellent competitor.
Did you say no moral victories and there were
I
some
did.
things to focus on? In the same light, for the first game in this scheme, going against the quarterback and an offense that had been together, what was your overall assessment about where you were realistically as far as?
Yeah, well, I thought, heading in, I was, certainly liked the challenge, because I thought when you're bringing a group back, that has so many, of the returning starters and who were at the top of their game, I think you should have a pretty good sense of where you're at from the get-go. And that's why I thought we were an on-the-way group, where there was good plays to have. I mean, to have, takeaways and plays like that and good tackling and good in the run game, those were things that you want to get tested on. And, so for us to, play the run like we did, I was pleased with that, to have the tackling and the physicality. I think that showed in the game. I thought the conditioning of the team, especially on the defensive side, showed they were really ready to be down for the fight. We were ready for the last possession. We just didn't nail it like we wanted to, but it wasn't a factor of guys being gassed or any of those things. So that part, good. And you don't really get back to say what you learned till you get back in that moment again. And I sense that could be as very well this weekend, where games come right down to it and you get a chance to go battle for it. So I'm looking forward to that, to getting back into that spot. But I do know there's spaces for us to grow and ways to lead, and that's why I thought we're on the way up. And there were some times, now it's time to go over the top.
One of the discouraging things, I guess you had two leads in the game. One lasted 43 seconds, the other lasted 1:22. Is that, once you get the lead, is that something?
More so the one at the end, especially, when you have it to go close it off. And you think of all the great closers of the Mariano Rivera to, and the Baseball Hall of Fame that was on my mind with Jeter. But those are the moments that you want. And so the team has worked hard. Mike's done a good job of putting us in a lot of situations in practice. And so we thought it would come down to that moment. And that's kind of the confidence that you want in your team. Like, hey, man, let's go ready to fight and be in this spot. We're going to be in it a bunch. And sure enough, right off the bat, the first one, it felt like a really cool game. There was an end of the 2 minute at the end of the half. There was a missed field goal, so you're right back out there defending a Hail Mary, defending an out-of-bounds play to come back out, score changing. So this game kind of had it all in your first one, which is good to test you, see where you're at on some topics. And I was pleased. We started both halves with 3 and outs. We had a 2 minute at the end of the half. So there was a lot that we were put in to say, all right, let's go fight and battle this thing.
What do you
Dan,
think
what
about
did
the
your
pass
pass
rush?
what did your pass rush not generate that you want to see it generate this week? And how much of that do you attribute to just how quickly Tom's able to get the ball out?
Probably some, but there were certainly plays that, we've got to be able to finish and get there. And so to me, it's usually how much is the quarterback affected. I don't, just keep track of the sacks part of it. That's an important part because you get a chance to get the ball off the quarterback. That happens. There's a loss of yards. But hits and pressures, those are as big a factor because if you can just make it more challenging where he has to move, doesn't get to step into the throw, those are the things, and we just needed more of those.
How do you get more of those?
Well, one right outside here, practice for sure. And, that group of guys working together to do that because I thought going in, if we can get them into the drop back space, because any team, when you run play action, that's hard, another blocker in to go. So when you get into drop back, you've got to nail those moments. And there were times I thought we did and moved them off the spot, and other times we just didn't get there quick enough.
Communication is obviously paramount on defense, and something you continually emphasize.
I will, and it's such an important part of what you do, because as to play really good defense, it takes everybody talking. You hear when a good defense is out on the field because it's talking, and the call may come in from me, but once that call starts, everybody takes over. All the communication. This is pass. This is run. Watch for this alert. And so the more you're talking, that's when you're playing really good defense. And so we're going to continue to harp that as we're going about talking ahead of the play, talking ahead of the motion. Hey, if this motion happens, be ready for this. And so when you can talk ahead of some of the plays, that's when you're really at your best. And that's why I felt like we still have work to do in that area.
But the only thing you might just answer it there, but do you feel like there was enough talk on Thursday, or is that one of your takeaways from the game?
That was one of my takeaways, to add to it. And there's never an ultimatum to say of the 60 plays how many were good talk and how many weren't, but it goes to show it's verbal, it's nonverbal, it's some of the ones just in the communication of, hey, this is coming up on the next series, or in this stance, expect this, in this formation, alert for those. So talking ahead of it is a big part of it, and the more we're together, the more that happens. And so it's nice to have this group. There was our first group all together, and we've learned from it, and then that has to carry over onto the field.
There's some personnel substitutions that you have going between plays, and that complicate those communication efforts?
I don't think so. It's kind of like on the sideline, that's like the telephone game, you pass the message down the line to make sure if you were in, you're sharing it with the next guy. If you were in, you're sharing it with the next one. And so coaches and players did a good job with that. That's looking on the tablet, you get the call, hey, the linebacker going over to a DB, hey, let's talk about this play, let's talk about this concept.
And
Jalen
so
had-
looking ahead to the Chargers, what stands out about Justin Herbert? And then could you see anything different from last week? You new coach and Lombardi, who you went against in the NFC South.
Yep. Well, I'd say, one, I certainly have been impressed by Justin. I thought the thing that jumps out to me, two things. One is the arm strength. And this is a guy that can really rip the ball. And so that's, like number one, whether it's quick game, the strength of the arm, I think that jumped out. And then I would say outside the pocket, this is a player that can really create on the move, much like Dak does, where he gets outside and now he can rip the ball down the field. And so when you have a player who can do that, it's almost like defending two plays. Here's the first play. Now as the quarterback, whether it was designed or not, he got outside the pocket. Now a second play begins because you have to get tight and plaster onto your coverage. So when you're defending a mobile quarterback, it's really like two plays. Here's the first play, quarterback's in the pocket on a passing play. Second play, outside the pocket. And that's when the plays get extended, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. And he's got the arm strength to deliver it all the way here, all the way back over to the other side.
How does it go over in your linebacker room when Jalen and Leighton, two guys who played so much on defense, play 16 and 14 snaps respectively?
Yeah, I would say this is early, and we're certainly expecting those guys to play a lot. And some games they'll play a ton, some games it'll be more balanced. And so I feel like we've got 4 excellent linebackers. It's up to us to use them as best we can in all the ways that we will. And so I would expect games to be different as the season goes on.
And that was more the product of the Tampa throwing 50 times.
That's correct. Yep. And so, but I have trust in them in all spaces. I thought both of them, played strong and well in their reps. But I would anticipate, like I said, this game to game and week to week. We've got excellent players, and I would see some games they'll play a lot more, and that's just how it will go.
But
So
it's easy to say they're more your guys that when they're traditional run downs, they're your run guys.
I would say that's one way to look at it, but it's also, we want to feature them in all the things. It doesn't have to be just in the run game. Both of them are equally equipped to handle all the stuff. So I would expect that to move around as the season progresses.
One more question
Sure.
about Herbert. I'm sorry, we just don't get to see him
Yep.
play a lot.
Right.
West. When you talk about him extending the plays and getting out,
Yep.
is that a thing where but eyes are up and he not looking to run? but
Correct.
looking to
Yeah,
throw?
that's one of the terms. Does he look to run, or does he remain a passer? And this is one that remains a passer. He certainly has the speed, that he could run it, but the big plays that happen, with guys like a Dak or a Russell Wilson, they get outside the pocket and can rip, and he has that kind of arm strength and the kind of athleticism to do that. So we got to defend plays longer when you're defending a quarterback like that.
You talked about the defensive line rotation and playing all these guys. Are you ever mindful of, like, do you want 4 new guys and no starters in there? How do you balance all that stuff out?
Well, I think this weekend was a little different, like you had to go back and say, all right, this is, from the weather side of things to make sure you have enough to go finish at the end of the game. But we really have a lot of trust in the guys. So when you're in, you're a starter. And we expect, the standards to stay the same where we're at. But we try to feature them in the ways that we can, whether it's 3rd downs and 2 minutes. Those are ones as a defensive lineman that are the ones that are the money opportunities and the money downs to go. So you want to make sure you have enough in the tank on those 2 minutes at the end of the half and at the end of the games.
On the ground touchdown where Donovan's blitzing, what's the teaching point on how to defend that?
Yeah, it's a tough one on a 0 blitz, so there's no help inside. So it was an exchange in coverage between 2 guys. So I would say best way to teach that would be not to call it. That would be a good start. So they clearly got to a good checked play against a certain look. So that would be an excellent example of an already there crew of working into a play. So we got stuff to work through. Yeah.
Was there a time in that game where you said, man, I missed this?
Yes, it was awesome. The whole thing, like right when we got started, kind of the build up for it, and it felt really good. It was a, great energy about it the whole way through, and so coming out of the, getting the turnovers on back-to-back plays, that totally lit me up. We had I think it was, first one was a punch-out fumble by D-Law, and then the next series, the first play was the interception on the screen, and so I thought that would have been. I didn't jump out of the press box window, but I was very excited, to say the least.
Trayvon did with his matchup and just overall your development?
Yeah, I thought he had an excellent game, Trey did. I thought, when you match somebody, you go into that saying this is strength on strength and how you're going to go play it. And I thought in that game against, some really talented guys, we really put Trey in tough matchups, and he really answered, and I was really proud of him.
Dan, last one if I can. How quickly do you get into the rhythm of a week, the rhythm of a season early on? Is it a regular time now for y'all?
I would say it probably takes a few weeks to get into the rhythm, like rosters change and that kind of stuff as you're going through the first couple weeks of the season. That's no big surprise. So I'd say usually it's, it's a game or, 2 or 3 before you really get into the flow of stuff and how you're featuring guys. And what's honestly different than what it used to be, we used to start so quickly after the final cut, and it was into that the next week. And now we've got an extended practice squad, so those things help where you have more players to go. So it's usually still a few weeks for any team, to get in the flow together. But to me, at the end of it, it's, trust in that process. And the more you do it, the more you trust it. All right, you guys have a good one.